Hey, how's it going, Mikey?
It's going great. How about you, man?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure and finally an honor to talk to you.
Absolutely. It's a huge honor. I've been seeing your comments and your likes, so I appreciate all the social media love as well.
uh, so, I guess what I want to talk about first is just to get a little bit more information about how you started wrestling.
Well, I have that same, like, I guess the best way to describe it is that same, like, stereotypical, I've been watching wrestling my entire life, which I really have. I've been watching it since I was, um, sorry. I've been watching it since I was about 4 years old, and I've always wanted to do it. I've always loved it since I was 4. My brother got me into it when we were kids. I was always that kid growing up that the don't try this at home. I tried it at home. Always ended up hurting either myself or someone else. Like there's one time I hit my brother with a pedigree on a brick floor, and it busted him open pretty good. But like, I mean, I've been wrestling forever. Like loved wrestling, not been wrestling, but playing sports my whole life. Wrestling's always been in the back of my head. But even like my parents, they always saw it as a pipe dream, and realistically, to me, it was a pipe dream.
Right.
But I did the right thing. I'm really one of those few wrestlers that have that life story where I can say honestly, like I'm thankful for it more than anything in the world. Like thank God I have this kind of life. Like I've had a good life. Like I grew up watching wrestling, but I didn't grow up in the wrestling world. But like I've had a good life. My parents raised me. I didn't have. I could be fortunate. I'm fortunate enough to say I didn't have any hardships growing up where I had to go to something. Like my parents were always there, which I mean, there's always like I hear that story a lot from people, which I'm not bashing or downing them for.
Right, right.
They have something like fighting, like they have something to fight for. Whereas, like why I wrestle, it's because I love it, and they do it because they wrestle. They wrestle because they love it too. And I'm trying to make it not sound like I'm bashing them. It's really hard to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to intentionally.
Right.
But, like, I grew up, like, I went to college. I finished high school. I got my master's degree. I did all that before I started wrestling. Also because the biggest hardship I had was my parents said, you can wrestle if you want to, but we're not paying for it. They paid my way through college. Like, I don't have any debt leaving college. Like, I am super fortunate. So, like, when I started working, I started looking into wrestling schools, and I was always 50-50, and I work in the school system. So the schedule's kind of conflicting in the sense that, like, I don't want to be out late, but I have to train late. And I always told myself, I get summers off. That's a great thing. So I always said, okay, summer hits, I'll sign up for wrestling school. But then one day, back in this past August, I was talking to my buddy, and he goes, honestly, he goes, you're going to do one of two things. He goes, you're either going to follow your plan and go for it. You're going to do it in June. You're going to take off because you're going to be free. You're going to have the time to do it. He goes, or you're going to forget about it and you're going to regret doing it. So he goes, either stick to your plan or just say screw it and pull the trigger.
Right.
And I got off the phone with him. I was heading to the gym. And that's when I looked it up and I said, screw it, pulled the trigger, called Pro Wrestling 2.0. I talked to Alex Porto, and he got me in, and he goes, hey, do you want to come in Tuesday? Which is like 3 days later. It was on a Friday that I made the call. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll come in, and I dove in. Like, I dove straight in when I did it. So it's been a fun, like, 7-8 months. It's been so much fun. I've done so much more than I've already thought I would do in the wrestling business. So
Right.
I'm really happy and excited for my future.
Right. Exactly. I think that's the same person I had talked to because I had called. I called because I wanted to go train, and same thing. You come in next Tuesday, have the money,
Yeah.
you're good to go. The only problem that I have is the fact that I can't get to Orlando because I
Right.
live in like a small town and I live like 2 hours away. So that's a 2 hour and like 2 minute drive there and back.
Yeah.
And it's the whole transportation thing. It's not that I don't want to do it, and so because I can't get there, I'm still going to train in some form, which would be kind of like working out, getting like I guess conditioned conditioning, basically.
Right. And that's a huge thing with a lot of people is that they don't realize, a lot of newbies coming into wrestling don't realize how much conditioning there is in wrestling. And like it's surprising, like just within these past 8 months, how many people I see that are out of shape. And it's not like you shouldn't be out of shape. Like, it's not, wrestling is not one of those schools or gyms you go to where you go in there hoping to lose weight and get in shape. Like,
Right.
this is something to help you with it. Like, it's a supplement for your workout routine.
That is true.
So,
So yeah, I've been watching you wrestle, of course, from Pro Wrestling 2.0 on their YouTube channel, and
yeah.
I've like really like gotten to your match, especially with your rivalry now with the big teddy bear, Steve Michaels. I really think that that's like a good like thing you guys like have together. It's like you are both able to work together. And that's not even at just Pro Wrestling 2.0, if I'm not mistaken. You had a match with him where he was dressed up and like you were in costumes. You were dressed as Black Panther, and I seen that also on your like Instagram. So I can see that.
that was a separate show. That was Collective Con Cosplay.
Right,
and they ended up pairing us together as well.
Right, so this is like amazing to just like watch the chemistry between you two grow, and it's like it's just very interesting like to watch your matches.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun wrestling together, and like we started at 2.0 on the same day, but he's been wrestling a lot longer than me. He's been wrestling for almost 2 years now. But we started up together, and we have a super hot rivalry in 2.0, and it's been so great. Like we've gotten calls, and people have been talking about us. It's not like obviously like WWE or Sami Callihan level calls.
Right.
Like, we've had people calling and asking like, what happened? Why'd you start bleeding? What happened with this? What happened with that?
Right.
It's been a crazy couple weeks where people are like, yeah, we saw your match and it's awesome, and like they're like, there's small talk. It's like super small talks compared to like when things happen in wrestling. Like we're not viral big. We're just like whispers.
But yeah, I could see what you're saying. In some form or fashion, it always tends to pop up in like a conversation, like, oh, you have a rivalry with this person, and it's very interesting.
Exactly.
It's just like a quick like. Don't really know how to say it, but it's just like a quick chat about it. And
Right.
I agree. That match was the last match that recently just happened. I watched it. I think I watched it about twice. I had to like go back because things got like so out of hand so fast. So like I had to like contain myself a little bit and like rewatch it and just like, okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
This is like very crazy. So.
Oh yeah, it got very, because it went from the idea of having just a traditional rivalry to this is turning into something brutal. Like this is gonna be like, so we ended up saying like, screw it, this is going to be a brawl of a rivalry, and we're like, this is gonna be something. We wanted this to be something that like, if this is my first major storyline. So the way I saw this, I go, if I want this to be my first major storyline, I'm going to build this to something that people remember. Because that's the thing with wrestling. Like,
right.
We want to be remembered. We want people to know who we are. So if I'm going to be remembered, I'm going to make sure they remember me.
Right. And you do that very well. Like after the match, after you're busted open, you had blood, you still had your hand on the wound, and you're talking pretty much trash, talking about it ends at the next pay-per-view, which I actually really like. Like it's just basically a shoot promo, and then it's just like fun just to like watch it. And
that's one of the things for me. I hate cutting promos. I absolutely hate it. I hate it with all my life. I just feel like practicing them. I do practice promos every now and then, but I don't feel what's the word? I don't feel authentic enough with it.
Right.
Like I am a think off the box kind of promo cutter where I'm like, hey, if I'm coming in, surprise me and just hand me a mic and we'll do it. Whereas like we plan on cutting promos, so like some promos are ideas that we throw out there, but I don't have like a script per se. I just like to boom, 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 done.
Right.
So like when I got hit with the chair and started bleeding and doing all that, I was down and out. And I was like, okay, I'll just be knocked out. But then, like, I'm slowly getting out. The refs are helping me up. And I just said, you know what? Screw it. I looked at the ref. I'm like, give me a microphone. And so they got me the mic, and we just went from there. I just went off from there. So it's and to me, that's something more authentic that you get from a promo like that because you're getting more emotion out of it because something just happened.
Exactly. It's true. It's just basic storytelling, and you shouldn't. Yeah. And I think like promos should actually be exactly like that, authentic. You don't have to have a script, and you just go with the flow. If a match is like so good and so incredible, and things happen in it, you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, pretty good.
Absolutely.
So, how did you come up with your wrestling name exactly?
I had a feeling this was going to come up. So Mikey Spandex actually had nothing to do with, well, it had a little bit to do with wrestling. So before I started wrestling, I did 5 years of a CrossFit competition.
Right.
So I was a competitive CrossFitter. And at one CrossFit gym, CrossFit NDI in Orlando, it was their first competition. And they were known, their owner at the time was known for wearing crazy leggings, and the entire gym was known for their spandex. So for that competition, they did a spandex contest. Mm. And so as I went there, everybody's like, yeah, just dress up in spandex, whatever. I never wore leggings or spandex before then, except for obviously like, what do they call them, slides or compression pants, compression shorts underneath. So, and then one day I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, let me think of spandex, let me think of something. I'm like, I got to think of something crazy in order to do that. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, screw it. I love costumes. I love doing stuff like that. And I love cosplay and all that. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to go all out and go full costume. Now, who can I dress as? And I was thinking at the time, I'm like, who's my favorite wrestler? Because spandex looks like some of the first few things people think of. My favorite wrestler at the time in NXT was Tyler Breeze.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Going for it. I went all out. And you can see it on my Instagram. And I've worn those leggings from, I think I wore it in like a Fatal 4-Way or something that's on 2.0's YouTube page.
Yeah.
It's these crazy pink unicorns with a robot dinosaur all over it.
Yeah, I think
I went all out on my. So that's one of my favorite pairs of leggings that I have. But like, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see there's a picture of me with the fur vest, the boot covers. I cleaned up, no beard, buzz cut with the selfie stick and everything. I went all out and did the full Tyler Breeze gimmick for the competition, and I ended up winning the spandex competition. I didn't win the competition itself, unfortunately, but I won like the best dress. But since then, like I still wasn't named Mikey Spandex then, but like it became a trend. Everybody was like, Mike, you got to start doing more leggings at competitions. You should do that at competitions. And so I started wearing leggings to every CrossFit competition. So anytime I'd go to a CrossFit competition, I had to show up, whether I was competing or not. I had to show up in some pair of leggings. If I showed up in jeans, people would be like, "Are you okay? What's going on? Where's the leggings?" So I always had a different pair for each competition. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with my buddy. He lives in Tampa now. His name is Cullen. I was talking with him about just branding yourself, and he goes, "You need to come up with a name." He goes, "You need something that people will remember you by." He goes, "Everybody knows you as Michael. Everybody knows you as Mike. Whatever." And he goes, "You needed to come up with something." And he goes, "Maybe like," and he's the one that actually came up with the name Mikey Spandex. And as soon as he said that name, I'm like, that has a good ring to it.
Exactly.
And so I told him, I said, "I'm taking it." And I took the name and I ran with it, and people like fell in love with the idea of it. And I just brought it into wrestling. I was like, I already have a following, kind of, from CrossFit and weightlifting, so I might as well continue with the Mikey Spandex gimmick.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah, it's
crazy.
a long story as far as how Mikey Spandex was born.
Okay, so what has been your like career highlight? Like the best moment you have had so far in your career?
Like, in wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Like, the whole journey in itself has been an incredible highlight. Like, the people I've met, it's just so crazy to see. Like, no matter how new you are to the business or how, like, long you've been in the business, people, like, the respect there it's there. And I think one of the greatest moments I've had, at least of recent, is, so I did get a pair, like, obviously, Mikey Spandex, crazy stuff all the time. I got a pair of simple pairs if I'm going to a small show or it's a small crowd, because I don't want to date you a pair to not so big of a crowd.
Right.
So I did order a pair of, and they're still pretty crazy. They're normal, but they're very bright neon blue pants, tights that I use. And they were made by Barrington Hughes. And I never met the guy. I got help. He was referred to me by another friend. And honestly, this is one of my favorite moments, is when I finally got to meet him. The dude treated me like he's known me his entire life. He is honestly one of the most genuine, nicest guys I've ever met. And every time I've seen him, it's like nothing but love from that guy. Like, Barrington Hughes is honestly one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And I mean, it was, every time I meet him, I'm like, how does this guy just treat me like he's known me forever? And I've seen him maybe 3 times total. And he's honestly one of the most genuine guys I've met, and I've only known him for about 3 or 4 months.
That's crazy. I'm trying to think. There's so many questions, and I don't.
Yeah, dude, ask away, man.
Like, okay. Since we're talking about spandex, how do you decide when you're like going to what you're going to wear at a specific pay-per-view or a specific match?
It depends. There's a lot of factors with it. It depends on the size of the crowd. It depends on the size of the crowd. It depends on who I'm facing. Because I will cater to who I'm facing and do something crazy like that. Like, if I'm facing someone and I have a pair of leggings that, like, happen to work with that person, I'm going to do that just to, like, mess with them. And they think it's kind of great. But then I also do it based on what kind of show I'm doing. Like, for example, in February, our show is called Valentine's Crush. I was going to look for a pair of heart leggings, like crazy heart leggings, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, that's way too Shawn Michaels with me. But, so I just went with the color scheme. The color scheme was black and red. And I had a pair of Harley Quinn leggings that worked perfectly. So I ended up doing that. So, like, it really caters to whoever I'm going against or anything like that. But then it also depends. Like, if it's a bigger crowd that hasn't seen me before, that's the bright side, because then I can use an old pair, or I use one of my more popular pairs, because that gets a big pop out of the crowd. So, like, I was at Sprung Beer Fest this past weekend working a show, and one of my most popular pairs is a pair of Pac-Man leggings, and I've only worn that. I think I faced Angel Fashion when I wore those last time. But I knew it would get a big pop out of the crowd, because I was going to wear the ones Barrington gave me, but I ended up using those to warm up, and I ended up accidentally, like, spilling blood from a rug burn onto the tights, so I had to change, and I ended up using the Pac-Man one. And the crowd went nuts for him. They just all started chanting Pac-Man over it and everything. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I stained the other one. But it really depends. There's so many factors. So, like, even with my final big finale Chicago street fight with Steve coming up in May, expect something different. I might actually, like, buy a pair just for the big finale. Because I have some ideas in my head on what I want to do for it.
Right, because I can feel that that's going to be like a special match between you two. especially because since you both came a long way. And yeah. But I remember those Pac-Man ones. Actually, the first match I watched with you, you had on the unicorn ones. I think it was like I think it was a Fatal 4-Way or something. It was like I think it was. I can't really remember, but I remember that you had those on.
Yeah, well, the Fatal 4-Way, I think I wore the unicorn ones.
Right.
Those are a very popular pair too.
I kind of like the Pac-Man one.
I'm not afraid to repeat pairs. It's just expect a giant gap in between for the pairs. So like, there's a pair I haven't worn in a while. It's the Goku's Gi from Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
That was in my debut match. I haven't worn those since my debut.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
So you might expect those back very soon.
Okay, for that. Is there any advice you have for anybody that wants to become a professional wrestler or even CrossFit, maybe?
When it comes to pro wrestling, I feel like I'm still not qualified or nowhere near qualified giving advice. It's been less than a year. But, I mean, I would say, honestly, if you're going to do it, I would say the same thing my friend did to me. If you're hesitating on it, just pull the trigger and do it. There's nothing wrong with giving something a try. My mom always taught me, try something at least once, or even most of the time she's referring to food that we've eaten. But try it at least once. If you don't end up liking it, you don't have to do it again. You don't have to try it again. But try it at least once, because then at least you won't grow up regretting not trying it. I mean, that's obviously like what Yoda's saying, do or do not, there is no try.
Yeah, right.
So there really is, like, if you don't try it, why would you, if you really do want to try it, or you're even close to thinking about trying it, you should at least give it a try. One day is not going to hurt you. And then in regards to CrossFit, make sure you find a gym that's safe. That's my main thing. If you're going to try CrossFit, make sure you find a gym that's safe. That one I can vouch for, because I've been doing that since I was 18, 19 years old. So that one, find a gym that's safe, find a gym that's good for you. All gyms are different when it comes to CrossFit. So.
All right. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody that helped you along the way to this journey that you're taking? And
oh my gosh, there's too many to count at this point. And it's only been 7-8 months. I mean, obviously that shout out I made to Barrington Hughes, Mecha Wolf 450, my coach right now. That man's been awesome in trying to push me in the right direction. Tony Storm's been a huge mentor for me. He's based out of Tampa, and he's been a huge mentor as far as like helping me put together matches, helping me just be a character, and helping me just push forward. And Barrington Hughes, like I said before, Tessa Blanchard's been an amazing help too. Lacey Lane, I'm going to steal her moveset one day. She already knows that. I love her to death. She's absolutely incredible. But yeah, there's just so many people. Alex Porto, Pro Wrestling 2.0. Obviously, I wouldn't be wrestling if I didn't show up there. So it's been so many people that's helped me along this journey.
Wow. Oh, okay. I kind of got off track, and now I remember the question. How did you decide? How did you decide to go wrestle at Pro Wrestling 2.0, based off of other companies, other promotions? Because I know there's a lot.
I'll be honest, it was a convenience thing. Pro Wrestling 2.0 was the closest to me. I live in Stanford. 2.0 is about 30 minutes away. It was literally a convenience for me. Also, I was a huge fan. Jesus Rodriguez was one of the coaches when I first started, so I was always a huge fan of Jesus, a.k.a. Ricardo Rodriguez from WWE. But I was always a huge fan of him, always a huge fan of Sami Callihan, who were the main trainers there at the time. Callahan was super busy, so I didn't get to see him too much. He was doing a huge tour in Japan, so I think I saw him once or twice, but Jesus was a huge help when I first started wrestling, and he helped me get a lot of psychology and basics down. But that it was definitely them. They drew me to it too. But but it really was. It had a lot to do with convenience because it's like you said with travel, it can be a pain.
Yeah.
But it's really when it comes to travel, it gets to the point where you just got to suck it up and do it. Because there are some days I don't want to drive out to Orlando. Granted, it's a 30-minute drive, so like I'm sitting there thinking, man, I don't want to go, and then I'm like, Mike, what are you thinking? It's 30 minutes. You can suck it up and take that.
Right.
So it's really just a matter of finding something close to you. But that one had a lot to do with convenience of travel, and the structure of 2.0 is so different from what I'm told of other schools that I've been very fortunate to progress as fast as I have. So it's very different as far as any other school goes.
Right. The reason why I chose Pro Wrestling 2.0 was mostly because of you. When I watched your match, I was like, hey, I can do this. And yeah. I was like, it was because you inspired me because you were so different from everybody else that I watched. It was like the first match, I think. And I was like, wow, this guy is a character. And it doesn't even look like you're trying to, in my eyes. Like, it's just like who you are as a person.
Well, I appreciate that. I didn't know I was already inspiring people. Like, that's shocking. So
yeah,
it's flattering and honoring to hear that. But I mean, it really is, like I said, it's a huge fortune and honor to honestly be where I'm at in wrestling. Because most people, like even Alex Porto said, he goes, most guys do not progress as fast as I have, and it really takes, like I said, I dove right in, and I went nonstop for about 4 or 5 months. I trained every day, so I was doing CrossFit, I was training and wrestling every single day. So there's 3 days, because 2.0 is open 3 days a week for newer students. So 3 days, so I was training 3 days out of the week. I was training maybe 5 or 6 hours a day doing CrossFit, weightlifting, and wrestling. So, but it got to the point, honestly, that's another piece of advice I give to people is know your body, because you will exhaust yourself. Because I ended up almost burning out, and I had to take a little bit of time, like a week off from training wise,
right?
Because I was almost burning myself out, and there is no problem with saying, hey, I need to slow down. So and there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Right. What is it? What is the feel that you get when you're like backstage, way before your music even hits?
It's it's a nerve-wracking experience. It's always, and I love hearing it from other wrestlers. And you hear it on documentaries, you hear it on wrestling all the time in those backstage like sneak peeks and like behind the scenes stuff where like if you don't have butterflies, you are like there's something wrong with you, honestly. Like I get butterflies anytime, no matter what. Even if I am full on confident how this match is gonna go, how everything's gonna go, like everything's perfect, and I still am like, oh my gosh, this is the most nerve-wracking thing. Because what a lot of people don't know about me, especially when they see me on stage and stuff like that, is that I have huge stage fright. And for the first time, like ever, when starting wrestling was the first time I got over the stage fright. Like wrestling, quote-unquote, cured my stage fright. As compared to like when I'm on a stage, like in high school or when I was I had worse. Like I get so nervous. And a lot of people don't notice that about me, but like when I'm wrestling, like I feel fine. Any other stage, I'll crack and freak out. No problem.
But it's like I said before, it's hard to actually tell what's going through your head because you just look like you're just like always confident in what you're doing. Yeah. And it was even in your like when you're like close up to the camera. It was after Steve had attacked Pegasus Black, and you had came out and just like you're just like normal. It didn't look like you were scared or anything. It just looked like full on confidence.
Yeah, well, I had to rescue the kid. he was getting his tail whipped. So it was also the point that like, okay, like I have butterflies going like crazy because I'm sitting there thinking, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? it gets to the point where you're like, I can't think about that. I need to think about what's going on right this second.
Right. No turn to think about what could go bad. Just think positive throughout the whole match.
Exactly.
And I can get in your head too, and basically, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you let that get to your head, like it can ruin an entire match.
Right. Have you ever faced anybody that didn't really want to work with you?
I've been lucky enough. I haven't run into that just yet. Will there be a time? I'm not saying there won't be. There's always the chance that there's going to be someone that won't want to work with me, or I won't want to work with them. There's always going to be that chance. But, I mean, as of now, I've been very fortunate to have the matches I've had. I've obviously had matches where it's screwed up and things went wrong. And we have to try to make it look like things didn't go wrong.
Right.
And that's hard to do. But, I've never had it where someone before a match even started is like, I don't want to work with them. And even so, it's really hard to tell whether or not a wrestler wants to work with you. I'm not the type of person to say whether or not I'm not comfortable with someone, because I'm a very bold person, so I'm not afraid to tell someone I'm not comfortable working with this person. And I'll obviously tell the booker or the trainer, I'm not comfortable working with this person first before I go up and tell that person, because I don't want to dampen their confidence either.
Right.
Or I don't want to offend that person. So it's a hard thing, but I mean, right now I've never run into that with anyone.
Wow. We just went through a whole lot of stuff, and now I don't even know what to say, because I feel like every question I wanted to ask, it was answered, and I don't know.
I'm kind of a rambler, so I tend to do that sometimes.
You pretty much answered things I had to ask you without me having to ask you, and so it's kind of hard for me to even ask anything else. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what to talk about now.
It's all good, dude.
So I think we're just gonna end it right now.
Hey, that sounds good to me, man.
I appreciate you dedicating your time to me, and hopefully one day when my car is fixed, I will be able to go to Orlando and maybe even see you there.
When that time comes, I look forward to seeing you.
Can't wait.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, see ya. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Time to Talk podcast with my guest, Mikey Spandex. Be sure to check out his Instagram at Mikey Spandex 1982 or 1999, whatever it was. Just be sure to go give him a follow. Peace.